This is episode 438 of Wheel Bearings. I am Sam Abu-Al-Samad from Telemetry.
And I'm Nicole Wakeland from Test Miles.
And I'm Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
And Nicole, what have you been driving?
Well, it's a car that I think you might actually be a little familiar with, Sam. I'm driving the Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy.
Ooh.
All-wheel drive or front-wheel drive?
All-wheel drive.
Ooh, what color?
Creamy white. Ugh, I like that name. I like it.
The names they come up with for colors these days.
White. I mean, it's actually it's dirt colored. It's dirt and salt colored right now. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, actually, I also had the same thing this week, but I had the classy blue.
See, that's way better than creamy white.
I was in Germany, so I didn't drive in nothing.
It's like the word slacks. I don't like slacks. That word.
Slacks?
Slacks. Like
Slacks?
you wear pants. You don't wear slacks.
Slacks?
I don't like the word slacks. Ugh.
What, trousers?
How about trousers?
Trousers just makes you sound like you're an 1850s dandy or something. But pants. Just pants, people.
Because in the UK, pants is underwear.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Yeah.
well, you know what? I'm just calling it pants. I'm not
All
in
right.
the UK. I'm American. I'm going with pants.
I'm just excited about you
I'm
going
also
to the UK.
not saying aluminium either. So there you go.
Aluminium.
There's actually a funny podcast. It's retired now, but there's probably about 36 episodes altogether that was done. It was on the Incomparable Network. It was called Pants in the Boot. Glenn Fleischman hosted it.
That's
and
cute.
he'd have like 4 or 5 other people on there on each episode, and he'd have people from both sides of the Atlantic, some Americans, some Canadians, some actually also some from the other side of the Pacific, some from Australia or New Zealand, and then from the UK, and they would spend each episode talking about a few words that had. They were the same word, but had very different meanings depending on where you lived.
Yes.
Hence the name, Pants in the Boot.
Yeah, it's surprising how many words you think are totally normal and you say them somewhere else. Like, and they look at you like, sorry, what? You're like, oh, wait.
Well, there's the old joke about America and the UK. Two countries separated by a common language.
Exactly. That is accurate.
Anyway, what'd you think of the Palisade?
I like the Palisade. I mean, I liked it overall. I had the gas one. There's a hybrid Palisade too, but I had the gas engine. I thought it was good. I like the exterior design. I go back and forth on that. It's a little bit too much, but it looks kind of cool, especially the lights look really cool at night. I did like driving it. We had horrific weather. I think when I last spoke, we were getting the weather, and now we've had it. We got, all told, we got a little over 2 feet of snow in New Hampshire. So to say it was snowy for days is not an understatement. They couldn't keep up with it. So the roads are absolutely... they still have snow stuck to them. That's how snowy and cold it was. Normally, you can see blacktop by now. You can't really in a lot of areas. So I took it out and I drove it in the mess. We went to our favorite diner. It was us and the snowplow guys. And I went out there and it was really good in the snow. I mean, if there's a test of snow, this is probably snowier conditions. You aren't going to have it much worse than that. I mean, most people were staying off the road, but I live in New England. I needed some breakfast and I was tired of being in the house. So it's like, let's go to the diner.
Breakfast is the best meal.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we go to this place called the Red Arrow Diner, and like it's like iconic. Like there was one in Manchester, New Hampshire that like all the politicians come visit during the election cycle. It's really cool. Anyway, so we went there. It was really nice in the snow. It handled really well. There was quite a bit of that where you've got a couple of inches of just thick, slushy mess on the road, and it's deep, and it's getting other cars stuck. People's wheels are spinning. It's that moment where someone goes to slow down, and you're like, are you really? Like, you wait to see if they're really stopping at the light, or they start to pull out, and you're like, I'm going to give you a little extra space, because your 2 seconds to pull out might take you a minute because your wheels are going. And it didn't have any trouble. It really did really well. So I was truly impressed with how it handled in the snow. It was really good. And it's comfortable. It's nice and quiet. What do they call it? They call it I decided I love this. Wait, what's the thing they call, I can't find it now, ergo motion for the driver's seat that all of a sudden you're
Everybody's
driving.
doing a brand
After
new
about 30
dance
minutes,
now.
it'll start
Yeah.
doing some
Come on,
massage
baby.
patterns.
I
Do the
love
ergo
that. So
motion.
I loved it. So I was driving along. Yeah, thanks for the little interlude there, Robbie.
I just like
I-
the little background music to the show.
Little background. I
music
love
bed.
the ergo motion seats. So it felt kind of like when they tell you about it, and think of like you've sort of like turned on your massaging seats, right? And but it's just in a specific spot. It's sort of like your lower back, and it kind of just presses out, sort of stretches out your back a little bit. And I thought, I don't know how useful this really is, like as you're driving in a drive program or whatever. It was really nice. Like I'm driving along, I'm like didn't realize I was stiff at all until like I'm like, oh, that ergo motion seat feels good. It really does help stretch you out a little bit and make you feel a little less stiff, I think, especially if you were driving for hours and hours, to have that thing just kick on and be like, let me give you a little massage, keep you all limber. That's a really cool feature. I was poo-pooing it initially because I thought it was silly. I no longer think it's silly.
Well, I had to do a couple of runs over to the Auburn Hills, Rochester Hills area, which normally is during non-rush hour times when the roads are clear, roughly about an hour drive from where I live. And this week, because of actually on Tuesday when I went, it started snowing again while I was on the way, and it was during morning rush hour, so you get more traffic and snow and everything else, and so the drive was closer to about an hour and a half long. And yeah, that ergo motion seat, was definitely it's like going along about a half hour into the drive, and oh, there goes the seat. It's starting to move my back around a little bit, and yeah, it was really good. It's a nice touch. I mean, it's not as aggressive as some of the massage seats that I've used over the years, but it was definitely helpful. It was helpful.
Yeah, I think, and it's because it's not something you're picking or something you have to remember to turn off or on. That's what's kind of nice about it. Because even when you have massaging seats in a car, which always give you 10 different settings in your back, your lower back, your upper back, a waterfall, whatever. This, you have to think about it to turn it on, which I know isn't a big deal, but you just don't think about those things sometimes when you're driving. This is just, it automatically does it. It's been a half an hour. You could probably use
you can turn it off if you don't like it in the settings.
Yes.
And there are a couple of different patterns it goes through. So it doesn't give you the same pattern every time. I don't know if it's randomized or not because I wasn't paying that close attention, but I noticed, during an hour and a half drive, it came on twice, and it goes for about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And each time it came on, it was a different pattern. And I only on the seats in the Palisade, there's only about, I think, 2 or 3 different patterns that it can do for the massage seat anyway. But it's nice to have that just come on and just kind of move your back around a little bit, because usually when you're driving for an extended period of time, you end up shifting around in your seat, as everything settles, and as you get older, things tend to settle more.
A little bit more.
So
I don't know what you mean.
you will.
Sure.
You will soon enough.
No, yeah.
So yeah, no, I enjoyed that. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. So I truly thought, I'm like, this is actually a pretty cool feature. I like this feature. So I enjoyed driving it. It was great in the winter weather. It's relatively quiet because it's kind of boxy shape, but it has really good sound deadening and insulation in it. So you don't hear a lot of the noise from the snow and the muck and just the wind going by, as you're driving high speeds on the highway. It has that, there's a hybrid, but I drove the 3.5 liter V6, which is fine, has an 8-speed automatic. It shifts nicely. It's a nice, smooth, pleasant drive, plenty roomy for you to get in and out of. There's a third row if you want to go back there, but like every third row, you don't want to live back there for very long because it's tight, but no more so. Not in an exceptional way, but you can sit back there. So overall, I like it. And the interior, I mean, the calligraphy, I think this is the top trim, right? It doesn't get fancier than calligraphy, does it?
It's the fanciest trim. I'm not sure if it's necessarily the most expensive. I'm not sure
but I think
if the XRT Pro.
Oh, might be more. So in terms of just.
It's definitely the most luxury oriented.
Yeah, luxury in features. This is the top of the lineup. So pricing on this, my Monroney has no pricing on it. Hold on a second.
Mine
Sam,
does.
does your Monroney have pricing on it?
It
Mine
does.
says TBD.
$57,800 all in. You guys want to guess at the destination
Oh,
charge?
yeah, because
Well,
I
is
don't
it
have
really
that either.
fair? Oh, okay, because you don't have
No,
it.
I don't
was
have
like,
it. I
well,
just
this
looked and
doesn't
it's
seem
not
fair
on my
at
sheet.
all.
I have an actual Monroney with no prices. Finally, I have one and it has no prices. I'm going to go $14.95.
$1,200.
Nicole nailed it. $14.95.
Woohoo! I really don't. I mean, you guys can be my Evan Finn,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
I really
sure.
don't. Look, wait. I can't get it on the camera. Wait. See, there's
Yeah.
no numbers. There's
No,
no numbers.
I couldn't see that. I wasn't looking, but I couldn't see that.
So
the calligraphy is the most expensive. So
it is the priciest. Okay.
MSRP on the calligraphy is $54,560, and for the XRT Pro, it's $49,870. So, and I mean, you get a lot in the calligraphy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's the standard 3.5 V6, 287 horsepower. It's got things like second row seats are heated and ventilated, I believe, and also the third row seats are also heated, not ventilated, but they are heated, and they're power folding and sliding. So there's buttons in the cargo area in the back, so you can drop those down, and also drop down the second row seats. So if you need to load some big stuff, and you don't have to go keep walking around to drop all the seats, you can do it all from the back. It's got the digital rearview mirror, the heads-up display, ambient lighting. The 21-inch alloy wheels look really sharp on this thing. It's a really nice looking wheel design on the calligraphy. And like I said, the one that I had was the classy blue, which is a darker blue color.
Classy.
Looked
really good in the snow until it got all covered with salt. But
yeah, mine is. It looks horrific. Like they could clean this car 2 feet away from my driveway, pulling it into the driveway. Poof! It would look ridiculous. It's really not great.
No, I mean, it's that time. This time of year, everything
There's nothing you can do
terrible.
about it. It's just the season. Yeah.
But I like the design of the 26 Palisade. I like it better than the previous generation, the first generation.
Do you?
Like you said, yeah. The lights, especially in the front, are definitely bolder than they were before. But I like it. It's an interesting look, and the shape of the rest of it, it's a little bit cleaner design. You still have the creases over the wheel arches, but the rest of it, especially the greenhouse area, I think is really nicely executed. It's got kind of a Range Rover-ish look to it.
It does, definitely.
So it looks a little more premium than before. But there's also the XRT Pro, which that's the more off-roady version. So that's got 18-inch wheels, all-terrain tires. Instead of the chrome trim on the D pillars, it's all blacked out. But it's and it looks a little more aggressive. So I think they're all of them are really well done. I think it's a good design. And the interior is really nice on these things too. It feels very premium, looks very premium.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they did a good job. I mean, it got the car of the year for Knack Toys, so people. I think it did well. They did a good job with it, and I like it. I think it's a good car.
Did you use the UVC filter in the center console?
I did not. Did you try it out?
You didn't decontaminate your phone?
I am
no, I
contaminated right now. You have no idea. Yeah.
Gross.
I did not bother.
Gross, both of you. Gross.
I mean, I always think the same thing. If you have kids, and kids tend to, little kids, they're gross. They're gross. And they tend to get stuff everywhere. So if you have little
kids are walking germ bombs.
Oh God, they are. And if they touch your phone, if they drop things, even their toys are like a pacifier or anything, like ugh, everything's always gross. So if I had littles, I would definitely use that.
I had lunch the other day with Kaylee Hall, who's the autos reporter, Detroit autos reporter for Reuters, Thomson Reuters. and she's got a 7-month-old who's in daycare now, and we were talking a little bit about about youngins, and I said, it's all right. Those germs, that'll only last another 18 years or so.
Right. Only
Yeah.
18 years or so for those germs, and you'll be just fine. You'll be
Then you
totally
kick them
fine.
out of the house, and
Right. Everything will
So-
be fine.
yeah. So I like the Palisade. I like the new Palisade, and I'm looking forward to trying out the new Telluride in March, I think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it is March. It's I like how the new Telluride looks.
Yeah.
I think I like the style of the new Telluride more than Palisade, but we'll see how they drive and how they, how it works out in practice.
Yeah, and hopefully one of these days I drove the Palisade hybrid at the drive program in November-ish timeframe, I think.
Yeah, that seems right.
And I'm looking forward to spending more time with that one, because with this one, the fuel economy, it's actually, this one actually has slightly less power than the first generation Palisade did. I think it was like 290-ish. It's now 287. But the hybrid has more power, and the gas Palisade is rated at 18 city, 24 highway, 20 combined. Most of my driving was on the highway. I was getting about 21 to 22 roughly, which is not bad for a vehicle this size. And the third row is big enough to accommodate adults. So it's, I think I'll be curious to see what I can get out of the hybrid when I get one of those in the driveway.
Eventually.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on then to some of the other stuff.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's February and the focus on relationships is stronger than ever. Regardless of what you've heard about Cupid, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. Sure, it may look like other people have it figured out, but the reality is everyone and every relationship requires at least some work. Now, therapy can be that guidance. An imperfect life is the norm, but talking with someone as a couple or individually can help you reduce the stress and anxiety of trying to navigate the world of love on your own. So whether you're married in a long-term relationship, just started dating, or single, therapy can be support needed to move towards a better relationship or help you determine what you want in your next relationship. BetterHelp makes finding the right therapist easy by matching you with your therapy goals via a short questionnaire. And if the first therapist doesn't quite fit, BetterHelp has over 30,000 fully licensed therapists in the United States. So whether you're trying to strengthen your current bond or looking for ways to make your next relationship stronger from the start, BetterHelp can assist you. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com. That's BetterHelp.com.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. So you've also driven some other stuff recently, Nicole.
I've driven a lot of stuff recently. Now I think I can talk about most of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's at least been published.
Yes.
So most of it anyway.
Either that or people have broken in embargoes.
so let's start with the Kia K4 hatchback.
The K4 hatchback. So I actually really like this little car. So because it has that hatchback styling and versatility, like it's really truly a little hatchback. It almost has kind of, dare I say it, like wagon vibes to it, just a little bit.
Hatchbacks are just tiny wagons.
It's like a tiny wagon, and it's more tiny wagon than some of them. So I like, and this isn't all new. It's It has like a turbocharged engine you can get, which is the version that we drove. The exterior looks really cool. I mean, it has sharp styling to it. I actually like the K4 hatchback better than the K4 sedan. Have you guys compared
yeah.
the two?
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
huge,
There's no question the hatchback is better.
Right? So the sedan, you're like, well, in fact, it was funny. I was behind a K4 sedan on the road yesterday at night, and I was like, what is that? Because we always see them without their lights on during drive programs, right? And I was like, that is the weirdest. I'm like, oh, K4, okay. Like I didn't when I passed it. So, but I like the hatchback. I think the hatchback looks really good. It has a turbo, which is really fun. So the base engine is a 2-liter 4-cylinder that has 147 horsepower. The 1.6-liter turbo brings it up to 190. That's still not this huge number, but in addition, you get an 8-speed automatic versus the CVT that you have in the base engine, and it gives you strong performance. It gives you strong passing power. It is not a hot hatch. Like if you're looking for hot hatch, that's not this aggressive car. This is a nice, versatile hatchback that is peppy and fun to drive, but it doesn't have the harshness, I think, sometimes that comes along with a vehicle being a hot hatch. Inside, it's very comfortable. It's nice. It does that thing that Kia does where, it's not overly expensive, but it still has a lot packed in there for what you're getting. Like it's always a surprise. Like there's depending on the trim, you get a 12.3-inch instrument cluster along with a 12.3-inch infotainment screen that's all in one big display. So it has that illusion of being one giant display, which gives it a very sort of fancy tech forward look to it. There's 3 different trims. It starts at $24,990 and it tops out at $28,890. So even if you're going for the GT line turbo with the turbocharged engine and a sport-tuned suspension and all the fun stuff that you get for buying the top trim of a car, you're still coming in at under $30,000, which I think is not a bad price for this because you're getting the fun of driving it with a turbo engine. You're getting a comfortable, well-equipped interior. You have the versatility for cargo, but it's not so big that you can't drive it in the city. So I really like the K4 hatch. I like I said, in every way, I like this better than the sedan. If you had me pick one, I'd pick this one in a heartbeat.
Yeah, the shape, the proportions of it just work so much better. The rear end, they're the same. The sedan and the hatchback are identical back up to the C-pillar, back to the back of the rear doors. And then there's some weird lines and weird intersections of lines on the K4 sedan. And the same is also true on the EV4 sedan, which we were supposed to get, but now aren't because of
now we're not
because of tariffs.
Stuff.
But they both have some weird intersecting lines, and both the hatchback versions of both of those cars, I just think work a lot better. And it's almost like they did the hatchback first, and they said, "Oh yeah, Americans don't want hatchbacks, so we better do a sedan version too."
Right?
Oh. Well, people have been hassling me for years. Like, I just want a nice hatchback. And I kept showing them the Golf, and then they just didn't buy it. So maybe they'll look at this and be like, all right, cool, a hatchback.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we had our Civic, they had a sedan version and the hatchback version, and we bought the hatchback because we liked the design of it, but also loved the utility. Because one of the problems with sedans, in smaller cars, basically all modern sedans have kind of a fastback profile to them. That you no longer have that 3-box shape, the traditional sedan shape. And so what that inevitably means is that the trunk opening is really small. And so even though you might have a decent sized trunk and when you fold the back seats down, you can put big, reasonably big stuff in there. Actually getting big stuff in is the problem. You can't, the opening isn't big enough to get anything big into it. Whereas a hatchback, you've got this nice big opening in the back. You can load stuff in there. It's just so much more practical.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was a fan. I like this. I hope it does well for them.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And then you also spent some time with Honda.
I did. I spent some time with Honda driving the Pilot and the Prelude. The Prelude that I couldn't say anything about, and the Pilot, which I also couldn't say anything about last week. So now I can talk about them. So the Pilot, I like the new. First, let's talk about the Pilot. I mean, they've improved it. It's not an all new, it's refreshed. So it's not like they ripped it apart and put it back together. But they did make some big changes. There's a larger 12.3-inch touchscreen in there. They get new 20-inch wheels in the top trims, and the front gets revised. So it has like this big, bold grille that's a little bit more erg than the old version. So it looks good. And I think the tendency now is to make SUVs, it goes back and forth. You're either trying to make them not look like one, or you're really trying to make them look like one. They're trying to make this look like an SUV. The silence in it, like the quiet of this, is fantastic. And when you're driving, you don't hear a lot of noise. You don't hear a lot of road noise, wind noise. Even when you have vehicles, like if you're on the road and a tractor trailer drives by you, it's hard not to hear that. Like it's the kind of thing in a lot of cars, if you're asleep and you're in the passenger side and that, you're passing a tractor trailer, you hear it and it wakes you up because it is loud. This is incredibly quiet, which I do not think you can underestimate when you have a car the kids are going to be in. Because when your kids just doze off and then something loud happens outside the window and your silence is broken, you cringe as a parent. So this is quiet enough and comfortable enough that the kids, once they fall asleep, will probably stay asleep, which is really nice. It has a 3-liter V6 that has 285 horsepower. That's plenty strong enough to get it up to speed. It's not especially noisy. Like if you really slam your foot in the gas, we had some construction where there were big trucks. So they were occasionally pulling over to let us go by on a road that was only 2 lanes. So you have that like, I must get by now, that sense of urgency, or you're stuck behind the construction truck again. A, it did it without a problem. And B, it wasn't overly noisy. Again, the sound is such a big deal on this. I truly enjoy driving as the interior looks beautiful, especially in the top trims. I feel like Honda's upping their game a little bit, because I sort of used to think of Honda as being a little bland sometimes in size. Bland, is that a nice way to say it?
Plain.
Plain works as well.
Understated.
Oh, that's the one. Understated. Hondas were a little understated. They're not flashy, but like the one I drove, it had this sort of like white, creamy white interior. And it wasn't just white seats. Like they had some texture. There was some contrast stitching on it. There's sort of like that quilted thing at the top of it. And there's like a darker pinstripe along the sides to give it a little pop of color. They truly looked good. This is 3 rows. So the second row, you can get plenty of room for 3 adults. Third row, it's going to be on the tighter side, but they do have that button that lets you access it, and it slides. So it tips the seat, but the seat also slides forward. So it's nice on that is not only does the seat slide forward so that it can make it easier to step into the back, you can leave it positioned a little more forward so your third row passengers aren't squished. But if you don't, or depending, what do you want to do? You have a lot of cargo, move the second row forward a little bit. You don't have cargo, or you have taller people sitting in the second row, you can slide the seats back a little. So it lets you play with that little bit of leg room / cargo room, so you can make it even more versatile for whatever it is that your family is doing. I think it's good. It starts at $42,000. That's for the Sport with front wheel drive. So that's the cheapest you can get into it. Goes up at the very top of the range. A touring model with all wheel drive is $51,000. That's still not, again, this is a 3-row big SUV with all the family room.
And this is a competitor to the Palisade.
It's a competitor to the Palisade. I think the Palisade Calligraphy has a fancier vibe inside, weirdly, even though you don't think of Hyundai as being a more upscale brand than Honda, I guess. But they do a little bit more, I don't know, their designs get a little funkier in a good way in a Hyundai, in the Palisade. The Pilot plays it a little bit more safe, but it still looks really good. I think it almost is more a traditional styling for an SUV inside. If you want something that's a little out there, a little different, your friends are going to go like, whoa, the Palisade does that a little bit better. But these are both great vehicles. Now, the thing that even though that's not what we drove, Sam, you can get a hybrid Palisade in the Pilot, gas engine. That's it. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be a hybrid someday.
Next generation.
Right. But right now, there isn't
That's still
one.
a couple of years off.
It's still a couple of years, because this was a refresh. This wasn't an all new, so it's not like you have to wait that long, but you'd have to wait for the next gen. So if you wanted a Pilot right now, you're going to have to get a gas engine. If you want a hybrid, you can't get yourself a Pilot. Go look at a Palisade. So very different stylings, similar attributes. I think the Honda Pilot is more traditional in a lot of ways than the Palisade.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. The the powertrain. How do you feel the powertrain compared to the Palisade? Do you have a preference or?
You know what? Actually, it was funny. And I don't know if it was because, like, I have to preface this with saying we literally had air temperatures in New England that were like -10, -12, -15, not with a wind chill, just straight up negative temps. And every car is a little bit not happy with you when the weather is that cold. So I felt like, especially when it was, I could feel I could feel I could feel things more of the engine, the shift. I could feel the transmission. I could feel things, felt a little harsher in the Palisade than it did in the Pilot. But I was driving the Pilot in this beautiful, nice, relatively warm weather compared to what I was driving the Palisade in. So, yeah. So in terms of though, like straight up acceleration, they both accelerate really strongly. One's not, but I just felt like the Honda was a little bit smoother. But I think the Palisade was. I truly think it was not loving the cold weather. What car would?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean when it's sub-zero temperatures,
Right?
nothing's really happy.
And I'll see that, like, that happens in practically any vehicle I've ever driven. If it gets cold enough here, it impacts the drive, because I could have driven it maybe on a launch program, which is rarely someplace cold. It's normally someplace warm and toasty, and it'll be fine. And then I get here and it just doesn't. It doesn't. Cars don't like cold weather. Doesn't matter whether they're electric or not. They really don't like it.
Yeah. They're not fans.
I remember having my a million years ago, my manual transmission Jetta. It got cold enough once that I couldn't. I was like trying to shift and like I couldn't shift the gear. I was like, I had two hands.
The viscosity is,
and I was like, I need to go to work. Please work for me, please.
Well, last week it was cold enough here that the garage door would not fully close. It opened up, and then when we went to close it, it wouldn't go all the way down because there's a force sensor on the garage door opener.
Oh,
and because it's meant for safety. So if there's something blocking the garage door, then if there's too much force, then it backs up and won't close. And I kept if I reached up and pushed on it, I could get it to close. So I actually had to go out and adjust the force sensor on the garage door opener to give it a little bit more effort, so that it would actually close and open fully in the when it was sub-zero.
Wow. Yeah. See, so cold weather. I hate to gig anything for that, but like in my experience these 2 weeks, that was the difference. But it's because of the cold. When I drove this before, I did not have that sense at all. So.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, what about the Prelude? You got to spend a little more time with the Prelude. I mean, you drove it last fall.
Yeah. So I drove it.
As did I in Japan.
Yes. So I had the chance to drive the Prelude, and so here's the thing. It's very weird to me how people are either loving or hating this car for the same exact reason. It's not a pure sports car. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. It's not fast enough. It's not sporty enough. This doesn't live up to the Prelude was never this, and I think I said this last week, it was never this like monster sports car. It never was. That's not what the Prelude was.
There was never a Type R Prelude.
Really like this car. Right? And they made it very clear in the presentation. Like they talked about that because I think they're very aware of the criticism. And they're like, if you want that, go get a Type R. That's not what this is. This is intended to be more of a tour, like to be a little bit less harsh than a pure performance car, to be a little bit, have some of the fun, but to not be quite as over the top. So it's a little bit more, I don't know, it's a little bit more everyday usable, honestly. It still has a Civic Type R suspension bits in it, so it handles beautifully. The thing
brakes.
that they added in for their and for the brakes, they have the hybrid system, and it has this new stuff, this S Plus shift technology. So there isn't a transmission to shift in this, but dang, it makes you think that there is. You can hear it, you can feel it, the upshifts, the downshifts. When you put it in, I want to say it's just called sport mode, but but it's basically their sport mode. It gets even more aggressive, and the downshifts, you think you're hearing it like rev matching, like it's It's really cool. It's really well
you
done.
actually, that's the thing. You actually are hearing the engine because the way the
Right.
Honda hybrid system works, the engine's decoupled. So you're actually hearing the engine revving up and down the way you would when you're rev matching.
Right. And it's but like despite there not being a transmission to make it, it's just it is a really well done vehicle, and I thoroughly enjoy this. And also it's kind of neat. So I thought this was kind of fun. The bolstering, it's higher on the driver's side than it is on the passenger side because it's assuming that you're gonna have a little more fun when you're driving the car on your own. So the bolstering actually differs on the two seats. That's just wild to me. I don't know that I've seen that in another car. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought this was a fun car. I had a good time driving it. I didn't really have any complaints. I remember the old Prelude. I remember driving the old last generation, or maybe I think Prelude is what I drove. But it was. Uh-oh. Am I still here, or did I lose you?
Yeah. Your video froze, but I can still hear your audio. So just keep talking.
Okay. All right. I'm having troubles. My computer. If I log out, I'll be back. I think it was. I enjoyed driving it, and I felt like that compared to what I remember of the old Prelude, this is the old Prelude, but for this era. It does, I think it's a good, legacy wise, I think it's a great car. I like it. I think it's a little on the pricier side. That's probably its biggest drawback, but I really truly enjoyed driving it. Did you like driving this, Sam?
I did. I enjoyed it a lot. And, yes, it's not cheap, but it's also, it splits the difference between price wise between a Type R and the Civic Sport Touring Hybrid, which, so I think the Sport Touring Hybrid's about 36-ish, 36, 37. This is 42,000 and the Type R is 47. So it's in between those, and, considering you're getting a lot of the Type R hardware apart from the engine, you're getting the suspension, the brakes, you're getting a different body style. So you're getting some of the best bits of the Type R apart from the engine and the 6-speed gearbox. You're getting all the other good stuff, and you're getting the Honda hybrid system, which right now I think is probably the best mainstream hybrid system out there. I've been writing some comparisons recently of different hybrids, and the Honda system, I much prefer it to the Toyota hybrid system. So I think it's much more pleasant to drive. It's certainly more sporty feeling, because you've got a lot more electric power in there. You got 181 horsepower from the electric drive motor. So most of the, it's more like, in many ways, it's more like driving an EV, but you've got the engine there, and you're actually hearing the engine revving and hearing the engine sounds. So it's more fun to drive. So like you said, the Prelude was never a hardcore sports car. This is what a Prelude always has been.
It was never like a hardcore sports car. It was never.
Yeah.
It never went up against, like a WRX or a Type R or a Golf 32, R32 or a Golf R, or it never went up against any of those vehicles. Yeah. It was.
I mean, even through the 90s, when they had the Acura Integra Type R, there was never, there was never really direct competition between the Integra and the Prelude. The Prelude was always, something a little bit different. And I think it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it works. Some people are like really, truly hating on it, which makes me sad.
Just fold that back seat down. Never touch it again. Don't bother trying to put anybody back there because they're not going to be happy.
Yep.
Just leave the back seat folded, and you got a nice big cargo area. For you and your partner, take weekend getaways. You can throw all your stuff in the back there, and just have some fun.
Exactly. Yeah. So I liked it. Thumbs up.
Awesome. All right. Robbie, you went to Germany.
I did go to Germany. I just got back yesterday.
What did you see in Germany?
I saw something I'm not allowed to talk about for a long time. And then I saw...
Isn't that usually the way it is when you go to a Mercedes
It
thing?
is. It is. There's always like one thing you can talk about like right away that you've seen before. and then there's something you can't talk about for months and months. That's how, which is great because it gives me there's multiple reasons for me to go to another country versus like, hey, come all the way over here and see one thing. And I'm like, that's a long way to go. I think I've talked about how these trips are not as glamorous as you think. I was in Germany
Nope.
for less than 36 hours, I think, this time because my flight was delayed. Anywho, I saw the unveiling of the new S-Class. So this is the Mercedes-Benz. When Mercedes-Benz talks about being, a luxury automaker, it's talking about the S-Class. The S-Class is the vehicle for the CEO, the vehicle for the C-suite executive who is like, hey, look what I got. It's either the one you drive or the one you're driven in. Either way, it's the S-Class. They have updated the design a bit. It looks more traditional than the previous version, especially up in the front. You can now get a hood ornament in certain regions, but the hood ornament lights up. Ooh. Yeah. They told us they've worked so hard to get that hood ornament to work because there's all these. So in some regions you just can't have the hood ornament. Sorry, you're not going to get it. But in others you can have it, but you can't see it. You're not supposed to be able to see it.
Why
from
can't
the
we have it
driver's
everywhere? What's the reason?
There's a lot of
Pedestrian protection.
Oh, stupid pedestrians.
Yeah,
Okay.
just stabbing people in the gut with your.
That's so annoying. Just
See,
stay out of the way of the car.
Here in America, it's like if you're walking, that's your problem.
Yeah, America's very much like, hey, that's what you get. It's still so beyond the fancy light up hood ornament, this vehicle is it's software defined vehicle. They're using MB.OS, which we've seen on the CLA. So what it does is it gives Mercedes the ability to control more of the systems in the vehicle with fewer with less chaos. How's that?
Fewer chaos.
Fewer chaos.
Fewer chaos.
But let's say, you obviously seen in the past, suddenly a supplier can't get you a part. So now you got to get a new supplier. So now you got to work with the supplier and that software, and the supplier's work with you and your software. So now you got to essentially create a Rosetta Stone in order for those things to work. That's sort of gone now. With software-defined vehicles, that's sort of the big deal, is the ability to quickly swap out, to cut development time, to make the vehicles more efficient, and to reduce the amount of wiring that's in cars, which makes them lighter. For the average person, it means that you're going to get over-the-air updates to your car. Yay! So your car isn't a static thing anymore. You can, you buy a car in the 90s, that's the car. Forever.
That's what you had.
A few years ago, I was working on a research project for a client, and they among other things, they made wiring harnesses, and they were telling me about how the wiring harness for the S-Class, and this was probably about 2018, 2019, the wiring harness for the S-Class was so big and bulky that each one for a single car was shipped in its own separate container.
Wow.
And before they could install it into the vehicle, they would take it out of the shipping container, and it would go through an oven, a heating oven, to warm it up, because the wiring harness is made of copper wire and plastic insulation and everything, to warm it up to make it pliable enough so that they could actually maneuver it into the body of the vehicle. And it took like 9 people to get the wiring harness into the car.
So software-defined vehicles, they sort of stop most of that. so building the cars get less of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So as the MB.OS, it has the super screen, not the hyper screen. So it's a super screen, so everything is landscape. But in the CLA, everything looks very flush. Everything looks, the screen, like they just to each other.
Mm-hmm.
With the S-Class, there's like these big black gaps, which feels just weird for the top tier vehicle. I think that's my big knock on this vehicle right now, is the super screen, because it doesn't feel as premium as what is already out there in other Mercedes vehicles. It's still running MBUX. I believe it is the 4th generation of MBUX. I like MBUX. I like the zero layer. I think I've talked about that before. Essentially, they're just like, here's the map, and then widgets for the things that you use the most. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It seems like a no-brainer, and yet other people can't seem to figure it out. It is like the sort of infotainment system that I don't revert, after I've tested it, revert directly back to CarPlay when I'm driving. So, so everyone else out there, I guess, just steal from Mercedes? I don't know.
Steal from Mercedes.
Well, the rest of the industry's been doing that for about 140 years now.
That's true.
Seriously.
Oh, also the day that the event was held was the 140th year anniversary of Carl Benz doing the patent for the first automobile. So 140 years of cars. They had a big picture of the patent form,
Yes.
which I shot video of, which when my S-Class video goes up, hopefully this week, I will have something that you can look at it. I don't know why I thought, I'm like, ooh, paperwork. So I got some sweets, so be on the lookout for sweet video of paperwork. That's it. They are bringing, like everyone else, AI assistants into the vehicle. They're gonna have
Ooh.
I know they're gonna have Bing, and then Gemini.
Bing? Really?
And Chat GPT.
Oh my
GPT-4. The idea is that you'll ask Mercedes a question, or the Mercedes assistant a question, and it'll ask all of these systems. And then the best answer, Mercedes will determine, okay, these two suck. This was the best one, and it'll serve you up that one. Sure, why not? I guess. I don't know. I guess some of the things are just okay. Let's see what else. We talked about that. MBMs. Oh, so their assistants, their driver assistants, they're going to have the Drive Assist Pro, we've seen on the CLA. I went on that drive. I have a video somewhere about me in that car of that drive. I didn't drive. I just sat in the passenger seat because it's still relatively new. It's supposed to be at the end of the year for CLA. They will also, and that's a level 2 system. They'll call it level 2 plus. It's all level 2, hands on, eyes on. They have the level 3 system that'll be coming to the vehicle towards the end of the sometime this year, which is hands off, eyes off. We already have that in the current the S-Class. I'm assuming it's going to be better. And that's only available in California and Nevada. So
it's got but they also recently announced that they were discontinuing that.
I think
the current Drive Pilots, level 3 Drive Pilot system.
Yeah.
So hopefully this next generation will be much more capable than that one.
I think I think they're gonna. I would rather they err on the side of safety and be like, this isn't good enough, than just push forward. That's my biggest thing. Just keep going. If it's not working right, we'll just keep going. No.
Make it better first.
Please make it better.
Hold and make it work.
Mercedes is talking about launching a robo-taxi partnership. They're going to be working with NVIDIA, with the Hyperion, the NVIDIA's Drive Hyperion architecture, and then their Drive AV software level 4. And they're going to work with Lumo and Uber. The first vehicles with the first robo-taxis will be in Abu Dhabi later this year. So if you happen to be in Abu Dhabi and you need a robo-taxi, probably in December or November, you can have a Mercedes pick you up. That's level 4. That means the car drives itself, but it still has steering wheel and all the other stuff in case you need to get away from someone. You jump in the front, take over, and run off.
So for those first applications, is that just going to be running the NVIDIA Hyperion Drive stack?
Yes,
so the whole software and hardware stack.
Yeah, at the event, suddenly the CEO just appeared in a video on this giant wall. I was like, all right.
Jensen.
Yeah,
Wong?
Jensen showed up. He's wearing a nice jacket. He's wearing the same jacket he's been wearing for the last 25 years.
He actually changes those around. It's not always the same. No, because if you watch, the style changes. It's always some sort of black leather jacket.
Yeah,
but there's been multiple different variations of it. The one he wore at CES this year for his keynote was this shiny crocodile thing.
It's
quite different from the ones I've seen before.
He's like the Fonz of Silicon. So yeah, so of course everyone's been having, everyone has Tesla, Zoox, but the problem with the robotaxis is that there are always problems with robotaxis. So we'll see how Mercedes goes. They're really about they talk about redundancies and in the sensors and the braking and the power and the accelerate. Everything has redundancy. So we'll see how that works out. In the US, we're only going to get the 4MATIC S-Class. You got 3 motors. You have the mild hybrid 3-liter inline 6. You have a plug-in hybrid 3-liter inline 6, and then for the person who's just like woo party, you get the S58. It's got a 4-liter twin turbo mild hybrid V8, and it'll do 530 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque. They did some updates to the engine so it could get more powerful. One of the fun things that I got to ride in the back of one months and months and months ago, but I think who has Audi, where you're driving and the camera sees the road and the camera sees the pothole, so it primes the suspension in order to absorb the impact of the pothole to the occupants. What Mercedes is doing is it's using essentially vehicle to vehicle or vehicle to cloud, and then it just shares it. So if one Mercedes S-Class drives over this pothole, it notes the exact location of that pothole, and it tells all the other Mercedes S-Classes that there is a pothole there. So now every vehicle that drives down that road will prime itself for that pothole. Woo!
I like that idea. So you don't nail a pothole. That's kind of cool, actually.
And then I asked him a ton of questions. I'm like, well, how often, when does it change? Like, what is it? I go, if they fill the pothole, how long does it take to
how long
update
before your
it?
car veers around a filled pothole?
I got really nerdy. I don't remember them.
Around here, that's not so much of a problem. You don't have to worry about them filling potholes.
They're like, nah,
right? Yeah, exactly. It's never going to be an issue in New England either.
Like the previous Mercedes or S-Class and the EQS, it has rear steering, which is great for these large vehicles. Once you drive a large sedan or a large vehicle with rear steering, you wonder why someone who puts out a large vehicle or a large sedan, a large SUV or a large sedan, why they don't have rear steering. So yeah. I haven't driven it yet. It is So that's the S-Class. I think they're sort of trying to have both ways, make it look more traditional while adding a bunch more of their technology.
It does look like it has a significantly larger grille than before.
It does. It's a less curve, or the angle's been reduced, and it looks very
more vertical.
Yes, and so it does look a little bit more of a traditional versus. I think they're trying to. I think the sting of the EQS still is there. I think the the S-Class, previous version or the current version S-Class doesn't look like the EQS. Doesn't look like a little pill, but it does. It is very swoopy and bulbous a little bit more. This sort of backtracks on that. And I, to be honest, whether or not we like it, I think the average Mercedes S-Class owner is probably going to like it more, because I think they do like that sort of like traditional, like this. I am not, I'm in a very nice suit. I'm not
the rich
flashy.
potentates who ride around in the backseat of an S-Class. They will enjoy this. They will appreciate it.
They will enjoy this. They will appreciate it. So that's the new S-Class. It's everyone get excited if you're rich.
Well, I guess I don't need to get excited.
Sam Smith sang at the event, which I didn't know. He looks a little bit like a pirate, but he has a very good voice.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
you have to have somebody fancy, I guess.
Well,
right?
Mercedes loves having music at its events. Just at the first Mercedes event it was in Frankfurt, and they put on a literal musical about the vehicles they were showing off. I was like, what is happening? And I was with Tim Stevens, and Tim Stevens just like bummed. He's like, don't worry, it's like this all the time.
Back when when the Detroit Auto Show was still a thing that automakers actually participated in, Mercedes always used to do an event the night before on the Saturday night before the show. They would always have some singer, some musical performer at their event. They would have the unveiling of some new vehicle, and then they would have somebody come out and perform So that's a long-standing Mercedes tradition.
Do you remember the one they did? I think it was in Detroit, the auto show once. They had Arnold Schwarzenegger there. Do you remember Arnold? He was there once at one of the reveals they did
I don't
they did
remember
a
that
thing
one.
with the G-Wagon.
Oh, yes,
They
yes.
came running out all different
Yeah.
directions, and
Yeah, when
Arnold
they
got out of
launched
one.
the previous gen G-Wagon. Yeah, I do
Yes.
remember that.
That
That
one,
was
and
I forget the name of the building.
It's like an old theater that has been converted in sort of an event space. So a lot of it's like raw brick edges and stuff. It's a really cool space.
Yeah, now I remember that.
How could you forget Arnold?
So I think Sam Smith I think works really well for the S-Class owner, and for the G-Wagon they had Travis Scott for that event in LA, and I think that works really well for that vehicle as well. I mean, that's essentially an Instagram vehicle at this point.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, basically.
All right. Well, since you brought up software-defined vehicles, Robbie, let's talk about the pioneer of software-defined vehicles, the Tesla Model S.
Dun, dun, dun.
Tesla had their Q4 earnings call earlier this week, and we're not going to get too much into the financials, except to say that as expected, their profits were down substantially, and their revenues were down, and the only thing that went up, I think, was their revenues on energy storage systems because of all the data centers that they're selling batteries for to support these things, but everything else was down. But as part of during the earnings call, Elon Musk announced that they are winding down production of the Tesla Model S and Model X. The Model S was Tesla's first volume production vehicle. They built the Roadster for about 3 years, built about 2,100 of the original Roadsters, and then stopped while they tooled up the former NUMMI factory to build the Model S, and started building that in fall of 2012. And that's been their longest running product, and it's going away at the end of this quarter. So did either of you two ever drive the Model S?
I have.
I've driven a lot. I've driven a plethora of Model S's outside of the very current, the current versions, because Tesla does. Well, it's not that Tesla doesn't like me. Elon doesn't like me.
Elon has a personal beef with you.
He's got beefs with a lot of people.
It's a long story. There's a bunch of long stories about. Yeah. Anyway,
everybody in this business has stories about Elon.
Yeah, there's a lot of. Let's just say there's a lot of phone calls with people yelling at me while they're simultaneously being yelled at by Elon Musk. That's what I can. I think I could say that. It doesn't matter. I said it. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Those people probably aren't a Tesla anymore anyway.
Right. If it was more than a day ago, who knows?
Most of them are have left. But yeah, he's gotten very upset with me on more than a few occasions.
Oh.
Whatever.
Yeah.
My job isn't to make people happy. My job is to tell the truth.
if Elon hasn't been mad at you at some point, you're doing your job in this business.
That's the other weird thing. Like, you can say things about a car with most other automakers, and they're like, all right. The PR people are like, well, you're doing your job. I'm going to do my job. And, maybe we'll find a happy medium. Or
if you got something factually wrong, they'll let you know about it. But, if you just don't like something, then
I just don't like this thing.
Well, anyway, the Model S, was the first car that could really classify as a software-defined vehicle. In fact, I think within less than a month after they started customer deliveries, they did their first ever over-the-air software update with that, because there was some issue with the batteries, and so they pushed out an OTA update, and they've been doing updates on Model S's and every other Tesla ever since then. It was the first one to adopt an electronic architecture that was fully updatable, because up to that point, every other vehicle, the way the electronic architecture was set up, automakers would buy a feature from a supplier, like, say, electronic stability control or power steering system. And that came, that feature came with a set of sensors, some actuators, and an electronic control unit with some embedded software, and the supplier controlled that software, and it was not. While in many cases it could be updated, the software could be updated. It had to be done with a diagnostic tool plugged into the vehicle. You had to have physical access to the vehicle. The vehicles weren't architected to allow for software updates to be done over the air, and the Tesla was the first to do that. And the Model S, was a pioneer in many ways.
Oh yeah, it's. I like the Model S.
Yeah,
I mean, it has a dash cluster, which cool.
Yeah.
The ability to do software updates. I mean, when I've been at Tesla talking to engineers there, it is really. I think a lot of people are like, well, Elon came up to the site. Not really. It's so much like the engineers, the team there, especially with the Model S. I don't know what's happened in the last couple of years because no one's allowed to talk to Tesla anymore. But previously, like that was people would just come up with a really good idea, like the route planning with charging along the way. That just some random engineers like, hey, what if we did this? And it was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then they just built it and then pushed it out.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that Tesla has pushed out that is pretty trivial.
Farts and stuff.
Yeah. But, and, like the holiday light shows and things like that. But you know what? The customers like it. It doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't add to the functionality of the vehicle in most cases, but, it's fun. And it makes you feel like, you've got something that is continuously evolving, whereas you buy any other car and what rolled out of the factory is generally what's going to be there or less, a degraded form of that for the next 10, 15, 20 years until that car goes to the scrapyard. And
my 2014 BRZ is never going to get a better infotainment system.
No.
Infotainment system.
You rip out the stock one and put in an aftermarket system.
Yeah, that horrible infotainment system in that car is never going to get better.
Yeah, but you know what? That car is so much fun to drive. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't really care. I can plug my phone into it and I can listen to CDs. Oof. It's the perfect car. It's the perfect head unit.
You got any thoughts on the Model S, Nicole?
I mean, I think, it had its time, and I think Elon has always been, he's never been about just being a car company. He's long talked about how he has aspirations far beyond that. So as he integrates things like SpaceX and the Grok, the AI thing, I always think he's changing stuff around for whatever grand plan he has in his head. So it doesn't shock me in the least. It doesn't. So
yeah, I mean, they haven't fundamentally changed the Model S since 2012.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same car. They just
it
goes faster.
Done some tweaks. They've given it more power, a little more battery, more range.
Mm-hmm.
They updated the interior a little bit, but it's still fundamentally the same car.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's funny. I was watching a video earlier this morning. Yeah, somebody had a 2016 or 17 Model S, had 260,000 miles on it. It's still going pretty strong. Actually just ran into the first problem with the battery, where it had a bad cell somewhere, so there's a cell imbalance. So it worked great until it got down to about 20% state of charge, and then started dropping off rapidly.
Because Tesla gives you the entire battery. There's no gross versus usable. They give you the entire battery to use. So when something goes wrong, it can't like redirect to it can't stop using that cell. It just keeps going.
Yeah. But most Teslas, the guys at TFL last year, I think they bought a used Model S. I think a 2013 or 14 Model S, had about 100,000 miles on it. It still had over 90% of its original capacity in the battery.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So, these things, the batteries at least hold up pretty well. Maybe not some of the other parts. Some of the other parts, they've had issues with drive motors and suspensions that fail.
Tesla's suspension is so, it got worse with the Model S and the Model Y. They just fall apart. They're just horrible, horrible glass suspension system.
Yeah. But sales of the Model S and the X, and the X, I never cared for that one. I never drove an X, but I've ridden in them several times over the years. Those ridiculous doors, it was just dumb.
It was a last-minute ad by Elon. The engineers were very upset about it. I wanted to do this, and then they had nothing but problems with it. And when I reviewed it, they gave me the wrong car, so they gave me pre-production, and the door, it wouldn't close all the way. And at one point, it hit my cameraman on the head, even though it's not supposed to do that. It just came down and whacked him on the head. It was it was a huge misstep, to be honest.
Yeah, well, a friend of the show, Leo Laporte, he had a Model X. He bought one when it first came out. That was his first EV, and his wife Lisa would, not long afterwards, he had to start, yelling out whenever he was closing the doors, just to alert her because she got bonked on the head multiple times by those things. And, they also had a bunch of other issues with it, and she hated driving that thing. After a while, she just would not drive it at all.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
But, those vehicles, were important in the evolution of the modern vehicle.
Yeah. I think the S, especially because the S was allowed to be built and designed and engineered by people who knew what they're doing, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to. And then the X, people started sort of, yes, whatever Elon says. And then by the 3 and the Y, it was very much like,
things
well,
changed over the
and
years.
then anyone in their right mind would say, hey, let's build this truck.
And then Elon lost interest and started doing other stuff.
Yeah, and then there's all the other stuff outside of the engineering of the vehicles.
So
the S was like sort of the last truly this is built by people who know what they're doing.
Yeah. So the space where the S and the X assembly lines were in the Fremont factory is now going to be revamped to build Optimus robots, because we all want those, right?
So now I know where to go to stop the robot uprising.
Hyundai, but to be fair, Hyundai is building robots too. They're going to be building the Boston Dynamics robots.
But they've been building those robots Boston Dynamics has been doing this for generations and decades. Yes. And to be honest, the humanoid one, I'm like, sure, whatever. But they have, I feel like that's just I guess if Tesla will do it, we'll do it because stocks.
Yeah.
A lot of these, I think humanoid robot is some self-driving. It's just a stock play. Just say you're doing it and you'll get your stock market.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see if that goes anywhere,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's I could just see my dogs knocking one over, just constantly. Can it survive walking Bowie, the German Shepherd?
The problem is if they knock it over and it falls on them. That's the problem. They're very heavy.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want one of those things falling on Nico, especially. She's the smaller one, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, one more thing related to Tesla. Some new data came out this week about crashes with their Austin robotaxi fleet. And keep in mind, there's only about 20 of these vehicles. And this is data from the NHTSA Standing General Order. So, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration requires any manufacturer doing level 2 or above vehicles to report any crash that happens while the system is active. And so there were, between July and November of 2025, Tesla reported 9 crashes involving its robotaxi fleet. Remember, there's only 20 of these vehicles on the road. 9 crashes. And with the mileage, generally for police reported crashes, there's about 1 crash every 500,000 miles of driving. And this is all crashes, not just fatal crashes. For these, it worked out to, I think about 25,000 miles between crashes.
For the Tesla one specific. What is it for all robotaxis?
We don't know.
This is the problem, is that they don't have to report detailed information. This is one of the huge issues with robotaxis, that they're beta testing these vehicles on our roads, but they're not report and NHTSA isn't forcing them to report more detailed information about them. And also whenever they come out and like, oh, our cars will, we don't have crashes for 1,000,000 miles. I'm like, well, compared to regular drivers, regular drivers drive around the world, and these vehicles are driving in very specific geo-fenced areas under very specific conditions. So it's like saying, if it's like, well, if I sit in a white room that doesn't have anything in it, that person in that room will have fewer accidents than a person who just travels out into the universe of everything else that's going on in the world.
Plus, we're also comparing. Yeah, so the number works out to Tesla said there was 500,000 miles on the fleet as of November 2025. So that's one crash about every 55,000 miles. So it's 9 times worse than human drivers, and that's not great. And to what you were saying, Robbie, about the environment that they drive in, all of these robo-taxis are geofenced, and they're generally only operating in urban areas and generally at lower speeds. But when you look at the general population of crashes, like half of all fatal crashes happen on rural roads. So it's in a completely different region, different area, different environment than where robo-taxis are operating. And so it's not real, we don't have enough granular data, crash data, to really do a direct comparison. But from what we've seen so far, they're not necessarily any safer than human drivers yet. In fact, there was an incident last week in Santa Monica with a Waymo, where a Waymo robo-taxi struck a little girl. According to Waymo, she walked out from behind a parked SUV, and the Waymo was going about 17 miles an hour at the time. It detected her when she stepped out, but the problem with sensors, just as with our eyes, we're limited to line of sight. If there's somebody walking out from behind a parked vehicle and you can't see them, until they step out, that's when you can react. And the robo-taxi slammed on the brakes, struck her at about 6 miles an hour. So I guess, some minor injuries, but nothing major, but still struck a child. And, we don't have enough data from all these companies to really make a good judgment as to how safe they really are, which is why, we need some sort of independent testing methodology and independent evaluation of these vehicles. If you or I want to get a driver's license, we have to go down to the DMV. We have to take a written test. We have to take an eye test to prove that we could see and recognize what different traffic signs are. And we have to take a driving test. And none of that is true for any of these automated vehicles. There is no independent evaluation of these vehicles.
It's essentially telling me you would just call to the DMV and be like, nah, I'm good. And they're like, all right, cool, here's your license.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can do this, sure. Okay.
I got this. It's just, I got this. You just send them a little email, and then your license comes in the mail in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I got this.
So, yeah. So, if you happen to be in Austin, you see a Tesla robo-taxi, be careful around it. Try and avoid it.
That's one of the really weird issues with self-driving vehicles is that they're, the line of sight, the eye contact that you make with the driver, out whether you're walking or driving or whatever, that's actually quite important.
That's the nonverbal communications that we have.
Yeah, you understand, like, oh, I understand what this. I mostly understand what this person is going to do, and typically, you should just do the thing you're supposed to do. If it's your turn at the stop sign to go. Don't let other people go. Just do the thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And people can, people wave each other, but with self-driving vehicles, there isn't that. And right now, there's we're talking, we're putting lights on them to show that it's in self-driving mode, but still there is no like that weird interaction, that nonverbal interaction that we have that isn't there. So it's, yeah. Also, it doesn't flip you off. So, I mean, how would you know if it's angry?
Right. How can you even tell?
Yeah.
I mean, these things, a lot of them do have screens on the outside. I mean, you could throw up
right?
a
middle finger.
Yeah, a middle finger emoji.
Ha! I told you.
There you go. All right. Let's see. Rolls-Royce. They're working on a next generation Cullinan, which is not an SUV. It's a what do they call it? A tall car, I think, is
Tall car.
their official terminology for it. Anyway, they're working on a next generation Cullinan, and it's going to be electric.
Ooh.
What do you think?
Oh, I mean, it makes sense to be honest. I think I think EVs work really well for luxury vehicles. The end, especially ones where the person's sitting in the back, they don't care if it sounds like a V8. They don't want to hear a Hemi.
Yeah.
They don't hear bump. They want to sit there and just be quiet.
Even in a V12 Rolls Royce, it's quiet. That's the whole point of a Rolls Royce. That's why they give them names like Spectre and Shadow and and Ghost, because it's supposed to be quiet.
Yeah.
I guess that's great. Do you think that? I mean, I don't. The reason it's cool to give it an EV, turn it into EV, and make it even quieter. But does anyone care about making every car an EV right now?
Obviously not, but
I mean, I think most cars should be EVs. To be honest, I don't think most people, if they understood, you're going to save some money and you can get up every morning, your car will be charged, and you can do this, and but I think some cars should be. I think a WRX is a gas car with a manual transmission. That's what that car should be. It deserves to be that. Most cars don't deserve that.
And especially for most Rolls Royces, Phantoms, Cullinans, it's more often than not, it's not the owner driving the vehicle. They're vehicles that are bought to be driven in, not to drive. And they're usually not used for long distance road trips. They're used to pick up important people from the private terminal at the airport and deliver them to a high-end condo in Manhattan or to a fancy hotel or something like that. So, electrification is perfect for those vehicles.
Yeah, some sort of fancy thing that we've never seen.
For a Ghost Black badge, fine. Keep the big V8 in there or V12, but for a lot of them, they're actually better off being electric.
And also, if they're driving into the city, you're like, you get the taxes that they have in Europe, and this is a very European vehicle, and that's, to be honest, you're just going to sit in the back of the Cullinan and be very fancy.
Yeah.
The end. And this is going to make it fancier because it's smoother. There's no more vibration. And these automakers, for the S-Class, for the Cullinan, for the 7 Series, they do so many things to separate the motor, the subframe of the motor from the frame of the vehicle, so you don't feel anything. They're doing all these things to make it quieter, to make it to reduce vibration. They're doing all these things where they're like, if we just put an EV in it, we could sort of not do most of that.
All right, let's move on. So, Ineos, the Ineos Grenadier. What do you guys think about? You've both driven the Grenadier, right?
We both love the Grenadier, even with its weird driving. We're the weirdos.
Yes. We're the weirdos who think I love this. There are a million things wrong with this. The infotainment thing is weird and you can't see it well. And the steering is kind of takes some time to get adjusted to. And it's not especially smooth. And it's I love it. I love it. There's no rationale. I love it. There you go.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, they're making some updates to the Grenadier for model year 2026. They had a drive out in California, and David Tracy from the Utopian got to drive it. According to him, the steering still isn't good, but it's a little better.
Okay.
They put in a variable ratio steering box, made some changes to the power steering software, and it's still not good. But
it's less bad.
It's less bad.
Okay.
Also, said one thing I'm not sure I can get used to is the new emergency lane keeping system. Because it doesn't have electric power steering. There's no mechanism by which to nudge the steering wheel to keep the vehicle in its lane. So for regulatory reasons, Ineos is using a lane keeping system that clamps one of the rear brakes in order to create a moment that tries to turn the vehicle. According to David, it's terrible.
Can you turn it off?
Probably not.
I'm scanning through to see if you can.
Yeah, back in, I want to say it was like 2008 or so, 2008 or 9, when Infiniti launched one of the first lane departure prevention systems on what was then the EX30, later got rebadged as the QX50. They used a brake-based system like that because it had hydraulic power steering, and so they, if you were veering off to the left a little bit, it would give a little bit of brake torque on the right front wheel, or vice versa, to try to keep it in the lane, and it was not great. I mean, it was not a good system, and because they've got the same type of steering system on the Grenadier, that's what that's the approach they're taking on this thing as well. And David did not like it.
Well, I'll need to drive it to see how wonkety that is.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll see how it is.
We'll see if that's enough to make me hate it. I don't know. I just like it, and I like how it looks. There's something
it looks great.
There's
but
something gloriously impractical and unnecessary about how this is designed, but I love the look of it. I love
I'm sure
all
the Grenadier would have been
switches.
fantastic for you this past week in New Hampshire.
It would have been unbelievable. I could have scaled all the snowbanks, no problem.
I
And
think some of the issues with the steering is like getting angry because your McLaren doesn't go off road. Oh, why doesn't my McLaren have an approach angle? Yeah, why is my approach angle in my McLaren? I'm like, that's a very specific vehicle for a very specific task.
Right?
Everything else you do in a McLaren is not fun. Or a
It's not what
Lamborghini.
you're supposed to do.
I've been stuck in traffic in multiple Lamborghini Huracans. It is the worst.
It's awful. No, I like how it looks, and I like that. I like the company, when you talk to people that work at Ineos, like about their drives
they're great.
that
They're very
do,
enthusiastic.
Like they have an actual, real, genuine community of people, and their story is just bonkers cool. I love them. I love Ineos. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite companies and cars out there. For no reasonable, would I recommend you buy one? Absolutely not. But I love that car. Like it's
buy one understanding what it is.
Yes,
Just like you would with a
Robbie.
supercar, just like you would
Right?
with this is what it is.
Don't
it
buy
is
it
not
and expect
it is-
it to handle like a nice, tame.
it is not a
SUV.
Toyota Highlander.
It is not a Highlander. It is not. But if you want a Highlander, go get that. That's not what this is. In some ways, this is so much cooler and so much better. Even though in some ways it's way worse.
Right.
I love it.
Okay.
Hopefully you can
car.
turn off that steering. I mean, lane keep assist is a bit.
It always stinks.
I test it.
Yeah.
It works. I turn it off
Yeah.
after I've done the thing, because I am a person who uses the entire lane when I drive. I don't go over the line. If you're driving on a back road or whatever and you can't stay in your lane, you're doing it wrong. Stop
Yeah.
it. Drive better. Slow down. Do not drive beyond your capabilities, and that capability means staying in your lane. But the problem with these systems is that as you hug the inside, the system's like, oh no, you're getting close to the inside. Let me move you over a little bit. Like, no.
All right. Well, speaking of going off road, Genesis unveiled a new concept this week in the United Arab Emirates. They call it the off-road X Skorpio concept. This thing looks kind of like something that should be running in the Dakar Rally. I don't know if they're ever going to build anything quite like this. But apparently it's got a high-performance V8 engine with 1,100 horsepower.
Only?
Yeah, only 1,100 horsepower. And it's riding on 40-inch off-road tires. What do you think of this thing?
I think it's rad.
It looks totally rad. It looks like something out of a Mad Max movie, just cleaner. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really cool. The funny thing is, though, I can't figure out. I love Genesis. Like, they're on my possible buy list right now. But I can't figure out, like, are you a performance car company with your Magmas? Are you an off-road company with your Scorpio? Are you just an affordable luxury? What are you? Like,
Yes.
I don't think like, what are you right now?
I feel like the Hyundai Motor Group, because they're like one of the profitable automakers right now. They're just like, let's do some weird stuff.
Do whatever we feel like.
Let's just do some crazy weird stuff, and they're like, so people will talk about it. So let's just stay in the Genesis really needs people to know that Genesis is a thing. So maybe this is, of course, I don't think, like you said, I don't understand how this works with the brand at all.
That's where I'm confused.
Well,
I can't figure out the brand strategy of like, we're trying to get people to understand our premium yet affordable upscale vibe. And they're great cars. I love Genesis's vehicles. Genesis. Blah, blah, blah. I love their vehicles, but nobody ever knows what I'm driving when I'm in one. Like, without fail, someone's like, what the heck is that? Nobody knows what they are. Nobody. So I would focus more on like, let's people know what we are than trying to build a vehicle for Dakar.
Well, I think, that's part of why they're getting into motorsports, so they're going to be competing in the World Endurance Championship this year. They showed us their new GMR 001 race car last year at the New York Auto Show. And, it's been testing. It's going to start, the first race of the season in March at the 8 hours at Qatar. And, it's going to go to Le Mans this year, the 24-hour Le Mans. And I would not be surprised, because Hyundai's been involved in motorsports as a brand for a while now. So they've been involved in rallying. They've got a touring car version of the Elantra, and before that, what was the weird little coupe? Blanking on it now. Veloster, yes, the Veloster. So they've had TCR versions of those cars, and for World Rally Championship, and so I think it's like Genesis. They're using the Genesis brand to go a little more extreme, and so they're taking the GMR 001 to Le Mans. I would not be surprised if we see them have a version of this concept to run next year in the Dakar Rally, and to run in those kinds of desert rally races. And I think I'm guessing, and they don't give any details on the engine other than 1100 horsepower V8. But my guess is it's based on the same V8 that's in that Le Mans car, which is based on the World Rally Championship engine. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see them compete with this thing and maybe build a limited run, for some customers of these things, for regular use. I don't think you want to use this on the road, but as a hardcore off-roader, especially, and I'm not surprised that they unveiled this in the Middle East. That's kind of the market where people would, there's high-end customers that would want something like this.
Yeah, it's not going to be cheap if they build it.
No,
it's going to be bonkers.
Yeah, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars at least.
Yeah,
but, it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be more than a Grenadier, I can tell you that.
Yeah, a little bit. All right. Let's see. Let's stick with Hyundai for a second. The Santa Cruz. The Santa Cruz. Everybody got really excited when they first saw the concept way back in 2018 or 19, and then they built it, and then the Ford Maverick came out at the same time, cheaper, much more fuel efficient with a hybrid, and everybody bought the Maverick, and very few people bought the Santa Cruz, and so now they're not doing a next generation version of the Santa Cruz. It's going to end probably at the end of this year or next year sometime.
Yeah.
Which is sad. It was a cute, fun little car, but truck. It just never really a trucklet. I guess it just never really.
The Maverick came out at 20. The Santa Cruz came out at like 30 something. And so you're like, oh, well, I mean, I've driven the Santa Cruz. I like this. It drives really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It drives so much nicer than the Maverick. But also, does it drive, well, at the time, $15,000 nicer than the Maverick?
Well, I really feel like the mistake that Hyundai made with that vehicle was not putting the hybrid drivetrain in it as an option.
Yeah.
Because, this thing's based on a Tucson. And you can get the Tucson as a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid. And they never put it, even when they did the refresh, they did not put the hybrid system in there. And I think if they had done that, and offered it, at a price, closer to the price of the Maverick, I think it could have been a lot more successful.
Yeah.
One of my neighbors bought one.
Did they like it? They enjoy it?
So they do Turo. So they have a lot of vehicles, and they put them on Turo for people to use. And I think they got the because they buy so many cars, they got a really good deal on a used Santa Cruz. It was it had 0 miles or something goofy. It is now their car. I think they like it so much they don't even put it on Turo.
It's like a little car.
It drives so nice. It's there's so many things you can do with it. It's just everything about it is oh, this is great. And then you look at the price, and then you look at the price of the Maverick. You're like, I can be a little bit less comfortable in my car. I think is what it comes down to. Yeah, I drove it in the mountains when I drove it. And I was like, wow.
It's still a practical vehicle. I mean, I've used it. I've put 12 bags of mulch in there, or 12 bags of topsoil in there, and handled it with no problem at all. And I've used it to pull a few bales of straw, no problem at all. It was great.
It's just a tiny Ridgeline, is what it has. A little secret trunk, and I think we'll see how it what happens. But I was I saw them when they first came out. People bought them, and then it just it tapered off really quickly, especially once the Maverick hit the market. Everyone's like, well, this is cheaper, this is a hybrid, this is so many things.
I can get 40 miles per gallon in the Maverick, and 24 in the Santa Cruz.
Yeah, that's a hard sell. Would you like to pay more money and then pay more money for the rest of the life of the car?
Yeah,
forever.
But it's gonna feel nice when you're driving.
All right, let's move on to another truck that we won't be getting, which is the Chery R08. Chery is a Chinese automaker. And they have launched this, it's kind of a mid-size, kind of a Ridgeline-sized pickup truck, or, Ranger, Tacoma. And it's electric. It's available either as a rear-wheel drive or a dual-motor all-wheel drive, 150 kilowatts, so about 200 horsepower for the rear drive, and about closer to 400 for the all-wheel drive version. They're claiming 510 kilometers, so about 300 miles on the Chinese light-duty test cycle, which is going to be about 240 or so on EPA. And it starts at $18,300.
So cheap.
You're like,
but not here.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what it starts at.
But not here. Yeah, it doesn't matter. West. Yeah, we're not doing this.
So, not here.
Yeah, it's a shame. Shame we don't get something like this.
It'd be interesting if they did come here, what they actual pricing would be, even if you, forgetting the tariffs and all the crazy, if things were.
Yeah, I mean, apart from tariffs, it would probably be, it's going to be probably mid to upper 20s, like $25,000 to $30,000.
So we're not. Yeah. So even if everything was perfect for having this come here with no problems, we're still looking at it. We're not getting an $18,000 pickup truck.
You got to homologate these vehicles for U.S. regulations.
Exactly. So there's things that have to happen no matter what that make them more expensive here.
Yeah.
So,
but at $30,000, that's the same price as a Maverick or Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep, that's where it's, because I remember I wrote an article a while ago about people like, there's a $12,000 the Seagull, and I'm like, okay, hold on. It's not going to, if they brought it to the U.S., again, outside of tariffs and whatever, it's not going to be that much, because there's a lot of work that has to go into, and a lot of changes that have to happen in order for that vehicle to be, for regulatory reasons, allowed to drive on U.S. roads. So that doesn't mean they're not. It's not going to be cheap. It's just not going to be as cheap as you think.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll still be cheap, just not as cheap as you think or you'd like.
All right. So Mary Barra, the CEO and chair of General Motors, did a town hall, an all-employee town hall earlier this week. And the Wall Street Journal reported on it. And in this town hall, she said, "I can't explain why the decision was made in Canada," Barra said during the all-hands meeting. "It becomes a very slippery slope." And she was referring to why Canada is doing a deal with the Chinese to allow inexpensive Chinese EVs into the Canadian market at very low tariff rates. Mary, let me explain this to you. They're not happy. Canadians are not happy that you pulled out production of a bunch of Silverados from Oshawa and you shut down the Cami plant where you're building Bright Drop vans. And, they're not happy with a lot of other policies of the U.S. industry. And so they're saying, well, if the American automakers aren't going to help us out here, we're going to go somewhere else. And that's why they're doing this. They can get cheap Chinese EVs.
You can get
As simple as that.
Chinese EVs. They're going to build them in Canada, which means people get jobs. I'm like,
Yep.
Like it's not that hard to sort of understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of a disingenuous comment on her part.
Yeah.
She knows exactly why the decision was made.
Yeah.
She just doesn't want to say it for political reasons.
Yeah. And for the stocks, I think we both talked about speaking with Mary. Mary's very media trained.
Oh,
she
yeah.
knows exactly what to say, and she knows anything she can say is going to move the stock prices, is going to move, which is or anger the administration, or not anger the administration, or anger another company, or anger whatever. So this makes exact sense. This is exactly what I would expect her to say. But yeah, the reality is that if you're going to pull out of manufacturing in a country, and then another automaker's like, hey, we'll do manufacturing and give you cheaper EVs, you can't get mad you can't pretend like you don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just say it. This is, it's because of tariffs. It's because of all the other policies of the current administration. That's why they're doing it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So GM also had their earnings this past week. And during that earnings call, they announced that they are now up to 40% of customers that have Super Cruise on their vehicles. After, when you buy a GM vehicle with Super Cruise, you get 3 years of usage. That's the pricing is bundled into the price of the car. And so you get to use Super Cruise for 3 years, and then after that, you have to pay for an OnStar subscription to continue using it. So you get the map updates and everything, and the over-the-air updates. Last January was the first time that they announced any actual numbers of how many people were continuing to subscribe after that 3-year trial ended, and the number was about 20% of customers. That has now doubled. It's now 40% of people with Super Cruise on their vehicles are paying to continue using it after it goes down, and it's still trending upwards.
Wow.
So
That's a big difference. Yeah.
yeah.
What are you all doing with your hands? Because I'm.
That's the thing. Like
I'm
you
still-
said,
it's
you
like-
just cross your arms.
Just put them on my
I
lap.
just put,
But if you
I
just
put them
your
back on the
hands, like-
wheel. I
Like if
feel
you just
weird.
put your hands on your thighs, like who sits like that? You just no.
Oh,
You put your
I know.
hands on a table or something, or just lean back. I don't know what to do either. Yeah, it's like what
I
do
just
I do?
put them. I put them on the wheel. I could put them in my lap, and I would go, "This feels weird." It feels like I'm waiting outside a principal's office because I've done something wrong. And I
Right,
just
like
put
you're
them
in
back on the
big
wheel.
trouble.
And Ford also announced some data for Blue Cruise. Last year in 2025, Ford drivers using Blue Cruise logged 264 million miles in the hands-free mode, which is it's quite a bit. It's growing.
That's a lot of miles. Yeah.
Yeah,
Usage rose by 88%.
yeah, and
But that's not users, just usage. All right.
yeah, the number of miles driven.
Yeah.
And given that, Blue Cruise is still not as good as Super Cruise, but it's gotten a lot better in the last year.
Yeah, they've made steady improvements. There was a time I really
Yeah.
genuinely was
The-
not keen on it, but they have
Mhm.
definitely improved it over
Yeah,
time.
version 1.5, especially, which came out in like June or July, that was a huge step forward for them.
Yeah.
And then when you turn on Blue Cruise, you can sing the Blues Clues song.
Yeah.
Blues Clues, Blues Clues.
All right. Let's see. We talked about that. And one last one. Back in 2021, when Congress passed the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, one of the things that was in there was that they mandated that NHTSA had to develop a standard that required something to prevent people from driving drunk. So it had to detect impairment and prevent the vehicle from moving if the driver was impaired. Now, that was supposed to be, they were supposed to have the regulation done by 2025, and it's supposed to go into effect in 2027. Well, NHTSA still hasn't done anything.
What?
Yeah, shocking, I know.
Gosh.
Not NHTSA.
Yeah.
This is are you sure you're reading this story right, Sam?
NHTSA not doing anything is like me not
Oh.
doing anything with my X-Type. It's just the same thing. Like, I'm going to do something with that X-Type, and then nothing happens. That's NHTSA.
Yeah.
I am NHTSA with that goddamn Jaguar.
Well, now some members of Congress are trying to kill that mandate. Because there was a vote earlier this week. Part of the various votes on funding bills for the U.S. government, and this one failed. There were 57 House Republicans that voted with most of the Democrats to keep the mandate, but some of the Republicans that are trying to repeal it before it even goes into effect are claiming that they're saying they're afraid that having this technology in vehicles is going to allow the government to disable people's vehicles and remotely disable vehicles. That argument makes no sense, because the fact is pretty much all modern vehicles are connected, and you know what we can already do even without having an alcohol monitor in the vehicle?
Is it disable people's vehicles?
Yeah.
Because Wire did that with OnStar.
Yeah, back in like 2011. And
Mhm.
and OnStar introduced a feature in 2009 or 2008 actually, that if you can report your vehicle stolen, and they can reach out and shut your vehicle down if somebody's driving or steals your vehicle and is driving around in it. They can remotely shut it down. So
Yeah,
this is technology that's been in cars for almost 2 decades.
It's not
Yeah.
new. It's just not new.
It's just already there.
So calm your panic.
Are you not? I don't know if you're just not paying attention or if you just want to be disingenuous about what this is.
I think it's the latter.
Yeah. So anyway, keep on drinking and driving.
Yeah.
Please don't drink and
No,
drive.
don't. Do
man.
not. Do not.
It's just there's Uber now. There's taxis. You could get a bus. You can get a Waymo that'll take you somewhere really slowly, hopefully. There's a lot of ways to get home.
Oh, actually, you know what? You can now take a Waymo to get from San Francisco to the airport. You
Oh,
can get to SFO with a Waymo now.
I got a flight tomorrow.
That's cool. Give it a try, Robbie. See what happens.
Yeah, but I'd have to take that. I'd take Bart into the city, and then I have to hope the Waymo's available.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that there's a finite amount of them. There's probably only a finite within that herd of Waymos. There's probably only so many that actually go to the airport. So I'm going to get to the airport 3 hours after my flight, because it's like,
Eventually
just
you'll get
leave
there.
this afternoon. and you'll be there by tomorrow.
You'll be there in plenty of time.
if I had an afternoon flight, I'd be like, oh, I'll totally try this. But I have a 7 a.m. flight, so I'm just like, I really need to make this flight. I have another flight in. Nope. I'm driving for my next couple trips. So.
All right. So we got some emails. So first up, Sean Whitehurst wrote in, said, greetings, wheel bearings. Today I learned about the Honda Moto Campo, not the Moto Compacto, but the Moto Campo. And he sent us a photo of a Hot Wheels version of the Moto Campo. Said, I had no idea it existed. I didn't realize the Moto Compacto was a new version of an old product. Would Robbie buy a Moto Campo?
It comes with that, the Honda City?
Yeah, it was the Honda City back in
Yes.
the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, so you could get this tiny little K car, and then it had a little scooter in the back, and I would totally get one if I could. But it's there because of the Compacto, because people have realized that they can get cars from other countries delivered to the United States. Those are very, very, very expensive. So, but if you have one, I will take it. But I included a little video, if you want to drop it in the show notes,
I will do that.
of me riding a Moto Compacto inside a conference room in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then Honda was like, "Do you want to just ride it like through the halls?" I'm like, "Are we gonna get in trouble?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get in trouble."
Sure we are, but go for it.
All right. Next up from Ed Rick. I said, when I was listening to the bit about the restored red 90s Toyota truck, and I still have not gone over to that dealer. I need to do that this week.
Oh, that's right.
I literally looked over and saw a red one. This one, like the others I see from around this era, are used by landscapers. They must be very durable, at least in Northern California, to survive all this long. Is there anything particularly unique about the engineering to have these on the road for so long?
They're dope. They have a hardcore
dope.
like they
It's
have
a
a
Toyota.
they have a bulletproof V6 and some are manual. There's one up the street from my house, a blue one, but it's an automatic. Because I'm always like, oh, maybe it's on sale. So I kept like looking at it, hoping it would go on sale, like a 90s and it has that extra long bed. So it doesn't have the 5-foot bed, it has a longer bed, and it has that teeny tiny little extra cap. So my uncle had one for his radiator shop, and I live in Northern California, and he has radiator shops in Northern California. And I drove it in the 90s, and I fell in love with that vehicle like immediately. I was coming up from my cousin's quinceañera, and he's like, "Hey, can you pick some stuff up and drop some stuff off? And here's the keys to the truck." And I was just like, "Oh my God, I love this thing so much." And I was so happy. Every time they're like, "Someone needs to go," I'm like, "Oh, I'll do it." So they are bulletproof. It's a Toyota. They're fun to drive. They are exactly what they should be. And if you can get one, even if it looks like someone shot it up, it'll probably still be fine.
Well, it looks like this one's still available. It's at a dealer about 20 minutes away from me. I got to go take a look at it. The reason why we brought this up last week, Robbie, while you weren't here, is because they're asking $70,000 for this truck for a 1991 Toyota pickup.
That was and we all did this like, wait, what now? Like what?
You can.
What
okay.
are we missing?
You can probably get one for like 10 or 15.
Yeah.
Like our one in bad shape for like 7, and then do all the things to make it to make it as good as whatever this truck. I haven't even seen it. Maybe spend $10,000 at the absolute most. Most of that is probably on body work and paint.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Or you could buy this one for, what was it, $70,000 or whatever it is?
Yeah, just get it reupholstered, get some new seats.
Here, I'm dropping the link in the rundown, Robbie. You can take a look at it.
You can see what this actually is.
All right, let me look at this.
It looks like it's in fantastic shape, but
it's
only got 71,000 miles on it.
There's 2 of these on my up the street from my house, the raised ones, and they are not.
This one's a manual too.
And I think one of them is a manual. It is not $70,000. I bet I could walk over to that person's house right now with $8,000 and buy their F4x4
You'd be
SR5.
like, I'll take it.
Yeah, So yeah, you could buy just one that's sitting around or driving around for probably less than 10, and then spend again 20, and again most of that is going to be on body work.
Yeah,
and reupholstering the seats and stuff like that.
All right. Finally, from Lawrence in Southern California, I just saw a BYD compact SUV in Menifee on the freeway and was wondering how this vehicle was purchased and what is to stop them from selling direct to consumers. I also saw VinFast. Are they still viable? Thanks to the podcast. So I replied by email to Lawrence earlier this week. But,
I'm sorry, but the VinFast, are they still viable? Nicole.
It's like, yeah, I did make a face.
no,
Sorry.
they were never viable.
They are still sold, and I see them all the time. And I see them all the time in Northern California. All the time in Northern California. They're the VF 8, 9?
8.
Yeah.
VF8?
And again, if the VF3 comes to the United States, I'm going to probably buy one of those stupid cars. It'll fall apart.
It'll be so cheap, though.
I know. It's going to fall apart. It's going to be like it's going to be an EV cheap version of a Jimny. That's what that's all it is.
But on the BYD, so this one, we don't know, what kind of license plate was on it. There's a couple of possibilities. One is it's somebody from Mexico because they sell a bunch of BYDs in Mexico. Somebody from Mexico just happened to drive into California, is driving it around and will eventually go back. The other possibility, which is also probably a stronger possibility, in Southern California, is that this is actually owned by an automaker or perhaps a supplier, because what they often do is they will buy vehicles that are available in other markets, bring them in, put a manufacturer plate on it, and they're allowed to bring in vehicles. So for regular people, you got two options. If the vehicle's over 25 years old, you can bring it in, and you don't have to modify it to meet regulations. But for a newer vehicle like this, to register it, you would have to get it federalized. You'd have to make all kinds of modifications. You'd be spending tens of thousands of dollars, and it would not be worthwhile on a vehicle like this.
Yeah.
But for the manufacturers, they can bring them in on what's known as a temporary import bond, which is usually for 1 or 2 years. And so they bring them in, they benchmark them, they drive them, they do all kinds of testing with them. And oftentimes, after they're done doing the testing with them, then they'll take it into the lab, take it in the garage, and do a tear down on it and rip it all apart. Take it all down to pieces. And at the end of the TIB, the temporary import bond, they either have to ship it back out of the country or crush it. And in most cases, they end up getting crushed because they're usually not. It's usually not worth the cost of shipping them back. So it just goes to the crusher. And that's probably what you saw here. Is it probably, Honda or Toyota or Nissan or somebody, or one of the U.S. automakers, that brought it in and they were testing it, and they'll probably do a teardown on it eventually, and or just send it to the crusher when they're done with it.
We see a lot of cars up here, either in Northern California or from Mexico. People drive over, they're visiting family, California, Mexico, it's,
So
I have family in Mexico. Yeah. I have family that goes back and forth between Mexico and America all the time. My brother and I have tried to figure out he wants a Jimny so bad because you can get it, but the rule is that when you have the vehicle, you have to have it has to be registered to a house in Mexico. The owner has to have a house in Mexico. So when you come over, they can sort of pull you aside, like, well, why are you driving this car? Like, oh, well, it's registered to this house in Mexico, blah, blah, blah. Fortunately for my brother and I, we could both become Mexican citizens, but thanks to our mom. So we could do it, and we do have family in Mexico, but it's a big pain in the butt. And then if the neighborhood cop just decides they don't like you.
Yeah. And these days, that might not be such a great thing to do right now.
Yeah, driving with a Mexican car.
So anyway, that's it for this week. Nicole, you did record an interview with Lance Wolfer, who's head of sales for Honda America, and I will attach that on the end here.
Okay.
But let's say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you. Okay. So here we go. First, just say your name and title so everyone knows who you are.
I'm Lance Wolfer. I'm the Vice President of Automobile Sales at Honda, American Honda.
American Honda. So we have a couple things we're driving. We're driving the Pilot and we're driving the Prelude
Yes.
at this event. How important is Pilot to Honda?
Well, I think Pilot's really integral to our lineup. It's been a leading three-row SUV in sales for the last number of years. But really, it's helped to add to our rugged lineup. And certainly with the enhancements that we've you've had a chance to drive and see with the 26 model year, really even further enhance its rugged, appearance. But also we've had some new tech like a larger screen. And I think Pilot really is a great outlet for our customers who have a growing family and gives them a vehicle that at the right price point that really can go from CRV to Pilot, and then from there, wherever it's next is appropriate for them. But it's been a great vehicle for us, and I'll tell you, it's been a great family vehicle for me and my wife and two kids.
Oh, you drive
for a number
one?
of years.
Yeah.
Well, right now I'm actually in an ADX on the Acura side, but probably most often our family car has been the Pilot. So I've driven it a lot, so has my wife.
So Passport, your tech mentioned CRV, you mentioned
Yeah.
Pilot, but Passport, how's Passport fit into the mix?
Well, I'll give you an example because it's now the car that's my family car that my wife's driving because I've got two boys, but we've got a huge dog, and we end up doing, a lot of outdoor activities. And that vehicle has really enhanced, I think, again, I'm talking about the ruggedness of our vehicles, but gives a lot of cargo capacity in that back, especially for somebody like me with a dog, but also a lot of capability with the vehicle And it's got just its appearance, I think, is pretty exciting. It's fun to drive, and it just takes it to the next level. And the Trail Sport, which is what, 80% of our Passport sales.
Wait, 80%?
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's
that.
Trail
That's
Sport.
huge.
And there's 2 trims that
Yeah.
are Trail Sport trims, but it's really helped to show what Honda can do in a, with the Trail Sport that cascades throughout the lineup with the Pilot and CRV and Ridgeline to just further enhance the capability of our vehicles. And I think it's exciting. It's one of my favorite rides that we've had as a family, but really fits our needs now. And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, if you've got a dog, there's plenty of room. We've got a Leonberger, if you know what that is.
They're big.
Ours
Like
is 120 pounds. It's a
gigantic.
girl, Sasha. She's lovely, and she loves it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously there's the third row in
Yeah.
the Pilot that makes it significantly different
Yeah.
from the Passport. But if you're not you could have gotten a 3-row.
Sure.
You went with the Passport, even though
Right.
you have why? What's the difference between the customer, the person who's picking those two?
Well, I think it's really lifestyle. Are you in a situation where, when we used to transport not just our kids, sometimes other people's families, or, when we lived in Portland, we had just more family around. And so we were often needing more than 5 seats. And I think that's one of the big differences, where you've got the opportunity for an Odyssey, which is a great vehicle as well, or a Pilot to fit your lifestyle. But we find that consumers in that 3-row SUV really need that third row. Doesn't really mean every day, maybe once a week, once a month. And I think it just fits, their lifestyle needs. So the difference in overall usability, maybe when you put the row down, is in a lot of cases similar, but the Passport's also a little bit shorter too. So in overall capacity, that Pilot, that extra space, makes a difference for some folks as well.
So I just spent the whole day driving past the Pilot today.
Yeah.
I do Prelude tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I drove it all day today. One of the things I noticed, the interior is really, it's nice. Not
Yeah.
like it was nicer, but it's much more upscale.
Okay.
It felt nicer to me, which I liked. I appreciated that.
Mhm.
Is that something that's a priority for the Honda customer? Or because you're talking about how rugged,
Yeah.
the Passport is, which is not the same person who wants fancy trims and suede surfaces.
Well, I think at that level, when you're talking about the Pilot and the Passport, at that price point, I think the consumer really has some high expectations for fit and finish and the quality in the car. So all the touch points for the consumer, particularly the driver, are very important. I think it really matters, and we focus on that in every vehicle in our lineup. If you look throughout all the touch points of the vehicle, we pay a lot of attention to them. But the Passport, I think when you sit in it and you look at that Trail Sport trim with the stitching, is really classy. But I think you kind of find that in all the Honda vehicles. I'm driving an Acura right now, an ADX. You and I were talking about that.
Right.
And it's got that orchid interior with the blue,
Oh, yeah.
addition to those light seats.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really enhances, I think, the overall look of the vehicle. So we pay a lot of attention to that, absolutely, because it matters to the consumer.
And if you had to pick a favorite feature
Yeah.
in the new Pilot, you can't say all of them. You just what is the thing that you think is the most striking thing that you're like, wow, we nailed this?
Well, I think the larger touchscreen is the biggest difference that, makes it easier for me as I'm driving the vehicle. It was certainly usable and fit a lot of people's needs. So that bigger touchscreen, I think, is the biggest enhancement in my mind, and something consumers have been asking for.
Have people been saying its screens are too small?
Well, no, I think what they've said is, the size of the screen is important to us, and what you have in some of those trims, the larger screen, can you cascade that throughout more of the trims? So it's not necessarily that they're saying it's smaller, but when you show them the larger screen, it's a nice add for them. So it's really provided, I think, additional value in the vehicle.
So a vehicle that I only drove for about 5 minutes at the Nactway test drive
Sure.
is the Prelude. So I
Okay.
haven't had a chance to really drive the Prelude yet. I got a taste of it.
Right.
I learned how to drive a manual transmission on a Prelude back in the early 90s.
Oh, really?
So
Great
that
story.
was the last Prelude
Right.
experience I had. Bringing that back, is there a lot of customer excitement that you guys are seeing and dealer excitement for this being
Yeah.
back?
Yeah, I think that, it brings back a really important nameplate for us.
Mhm.
When you think about the fact that we had Civic, Accord, and Prelude as our first 3 models, and now they're back in the lineup. And there's a lot of folks that are really passionate about their experience with the Prelude. I started with Honda in 1997,
Okay.
and we had just launched, or we're about to. I think it came out as a 97. So I remember my boss had one as a demo,
Yeah.
and he wanted me to gas it up before he took a trip. And I lived in Portland, Oregon at the time, and I disappeared for like 3 hours driving that vehicle.
Line at the
So
gas
it was
station.
so much fun, and it was the vehicle that you wanted in high school as a kid. So it's an aspirational vehicle back in my childhood, and I think it becomes one today. But all those consumers who have a connection to it, I think, are excited to see it back.
So I remember driving it and being stressed out because I was learning how to drive a manual, but also that it was super fun, but it wasn't like this crazy, overpowered monster sports car. That's not my memory of it.
Right.
And it's not that now either. Some people are griping about that. They want that. What do you think? Do you think it lives up to the legacy of the original Prelude? Do you think people will be pleased overall once they get to drive it?
I say yes, I think they will, because it's really got great drivability. It's got S plus shift. But if you're looking for that high performance Honda, back the Prelude was our best performance vehicle in its era. Today we've got the Type R, which really showcases what we can do from a performance standpoint in that size of vehicle. And the Prelude really enhances our ability to show our best hybrid tech and debut something like S plus shift. So you've had a little bit of time to drive it, so have I. I got to drive it in Japan, actually, on a test track, which was a lot of fun, and drive it around town for several hours. But I haven't had a chance to really take one home like you're kind of wanting to have that opportunity. So I think it's got great drivability. I think consumers will be real excited about it. And I think they just need to, remember that we've got the Type R for that higher performance level. We've got the Prelude to debut some of that new technology and showcase. It's really our Halo hybrid vehicle is how I look at it.
So it's a totally different person and a different goal for Honda. You want performance, you want to go crazy, go Type R. That's not what this vehicle is. It's not intended to be that.
That's correct.
And now I'm going to ask the same question. Your absolute favorite feature about Prelude? You can't say screen because you already said that.
No, I think on that it's the S plus shift.
Yeah.
And the sounds that the vehicle makes as you're driving it. It really does remind me of, while it's not a stick shift, it reminds me of driving that as a kid. I had an 81 Accord as my first car. And, it's just a lot of good memories. And it does have just a little bit of, reminds me of that. And my friends who had it were lucky enough to have a Prelude. I didn't, but I sure would have loved to have one back then.
I love the old pop-up headlights. I know we don't do that anymore.
Oh, yeah. That was super cool. Like on the NSX in the day.
That was cool stuff, man. And I don't know why.
Yeah, you're talking my era.
I want that back. I know there's a million reasons why they don't do them. I want it back. When you see one up and one down in cars. And
you're bringing, this is my era. I think I graduated high school the same year as the kids from Stranger Things.
Okay.
And all this stuff was absolutely cool back then. I do miss that.
That was fun stuff. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. And this was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. That work for you?